Hello and welcome to Best First Review 360, where we bring you a roundup of this week's top business stories and developments that impact the economy. I'm Zola Outskoon. First a look at our top story. Sri Lanka tumbles in the ranking of economic freedoms over weak property rights and perceptions of corruption.
Heritage Foundation's 2017 Economic Freedom Report says Sri Lanka has made notable economic transition from fragility to relative stability and political reconciliation. Top scorers of economic freedom are Hong Kong, Singapore, New Zealand, Switzerland and Australia. Sri Lanka ranked 112 out of 180 countries. Although the report says that economic transformation has been strengthened by measures that support long-term development and competitiveness, weak judiciary continues to undermine the property rights and perceived level of corruption.
The cabinet grants green light for special infrastructure company.
The government is looking to set up a company under the purview of the Road Development Authority to raise funds for special infrastructure projects like highways. The new company, known as the Special Infrastructure Company, aims to give priority to investments in major infrastructure development projects that could accelerate the development of the economy.
Now for some other stories that made headlines this week.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe urged the Rubber Research Institute to gear research towards industry demands.
We have to be again globally competitive in rubber. That is productivity as well as competitiveness. Look at both. That is your North Star. If you are not globally, if the upstream is not competitive, the downstream will not be competitive. Both have to be competitive. So we have to move towards that. And this is what the master plan must achieve. How are you going to be competitive? Then what are the challenges you have to face? First is, you have to remember the Rubber Research Institute was industry driven. It's not industry driven now. How do you all work together with the industry? How does the industry get a stake in it? You can't be separate. Forget about it. I'm not giving you any more money if you think that is so. Come back with a valid plan. I'm not saying to privatize it. But you can be driven by a fund which has private-public participation. Therefore, the fund holders also have a place there.
He made these remarks at a meeting held in Colombo with industry players this week.
Now, why did we bring the rubber industry, the value addition industry? Because we wanted a market for our primary product of rubber. Everyone came here because rubber was cheap or competitive. Then what happened? That the last government had to allow rubber to be imported into Sri Lanka. Our primary products, primary rubber production, producers lost its competitiveness. And we couldn't tell the value addition producers use local rubber. To survive, they had to get in. So these were very uncomfortable situation. This is not what we planned initially. And our production has come down. We are in a serious crisis.
EU Chief Executive Juncker says Brexit negotiations will take years and come at a cost.
EU Chief Executive Jean-Claude Juncker said on Tuesday Britain will need years to negotiate a future trade deal with the European Union after it quits the bloc and will be landed with a very hefty bill from Brussels on leaving. Juncker was referring to payments the EU will seek from London to cover future EU spending, to which Britain has committed as an EU member. The British Parliament's upper house, the House of Lords, on Monday began debating legislation which would give Prime Minister Theresa May the power to trigger Britain's exit from the European Union.
Collectibles, movies and technology rocked the 114th North American International Toy Fair at New York's Jarvis Center, with more than 1,000 toy producers, distributors, importers and sales agents scouting the latest inventions.
The
The 2017 Toy Fair in New York wrapped up earlier this week, drawing to a close a showcase for more than 1,000 toy producers, distributors and sales agents scouting for the next big thing in the competitive toy market. While there were many trends to choose from, the analyst told Reuters the most prominent trends included movies, technology and collectibles. Lego, a market leader known for its iconic building blocks, showed its own line of collectibles. But making the biggest noise, literally, was its screaming cat, an audible representation of Lego's newest platform called Boost. It allows children build toys with Lego blocks and code them with motion and sound using iPad. Other producers like Wicked Cool Toys also showcased collectibles and technology, bringing back Teddy Ruxpin, the iconic talking bear from the 1980s. According to the NPD Group's retail tracking service, the US toy market grew to $20.36 billion in 2016, which is a 5% jump in sales from 2015.
A ski resort in northern Pakistan razed by Taliban militants nearly a decade ago is coming back to life thanks to improved security, new investment.
A ski resort in northern Pakistan razed by Taliban militants nearly a decade ago is coming back to life thanks to improved security and new investment. The ski resort in Pakistan's Swat Valley was razed to the ground nearly a decade ago by Taliban militants who declared skiing un-Islamic. But improved security in recent years is reviving ski tourism in Malam Jabba, a once popular tourist destination in a hill station located in the Hindu Kush mountain range. A new Chinese-built chairlift ferries mostly domestic tourists to the peak, and a luxury hotel is under construction to replace the one that was destroyed during the Taliban's 2007 to 2009 reign of terror over the area. But improved security in recent years is reviving ski tourism in Malam Jabba, a once popular tourist destination in a hill station located in the Hindu Kush mountain range. A new Chinese-built chairlift ferries mostly domestic tourists to the peak, and a luxury hotel is under construction to replace the one that was destroyed during the Taliban's 2007 to 2009 reign of terror over the area. Tourists like Usman Shaukat, a student from the sweltering Punjab province who zigzagged up the potholed mountain roads in public buses to the resort, are part of a new wave of Pakistani travelers who come to places like Malam Jabba. An uptick in economic growth has helped to fuel tourism at a time when Pakistani's middle class is rapidly expanding. Tourist officials proudly sell Swat to locals as the Switzerland of Pakistan, but the experience there is uniquely Pakistani. Army checkpoints manned by gun-toting policemen greet visitors on their way to the resort, although authorities say the security is pretty satisfactory and that tourists have never been the target for attacks. Infrastructure and accommodation for visitors is still work in progress, but austere guest houses are popping up for those who don't have the ways and means to stay at the relatively upmarket local military compounds. Islamist militants have now lost most territory in Pakistan, and attacks have dwindled, but the Taliban and others, including Islamic State, will carry out periodic large-scale bombings. Western embassies advised against visiting much of Pakistan. Freshly paved roads, which have cut journey times to remote regions, have encouraged the adventure seekers in a nation of 200 million people.
On the other side of this break, stretching and yoga postures you could do while at work. Welcome back. You're with Best First Review 360. Well, on our segment Trending Today, we look at workplace exercises that you could do when you are a little bit stressed. So let's loosen up a little bit.
Get up, get down, everybody move your body. Let me see you shake that body. Come on and work that body. Drop it like a taco. Get up, get down, everybody move your body. Let me see you. Get up, get down, everybody move your body. Let me see you shake that.
So today we're going to take a look at some exercises we can do in our office using the wall. So So one of my favorite exercises is opening up our shoulder girdle and using this nice firm space to provide us with some resistance. So we're going to start by taking our hands and placing them on the wall. Fingers are nice and active, about shoulder width apart. And we're about 20, maybe 30 centimeters from the edge of the wall. And we're going to just slowly press the chest towards the wall. Looking up to the ceiling. And we have a couple of options. If it's a little intense on the neck, we can step a little further. Again, extending the chest, but tilting the gaze and looking down at the floor. If you're comfortable looking at the ceiling, you want to really allow the chest to press into the wall and open up your shoulder girdle. Once you've spent a few breaths there, you can release, and then you can bring your body up to the wall, coming as close as possible. So in the beginning you might find that you need a little bit more space, but you want to try to get your entire body lined up on the wall, palm facing the wall, and you're going to slowly walk the fingers out and around. And again, you may find that you're going to move from the space here. That's okay. Over time you might notice a bit of a difference. Once you've come down, you just flip the hand around again and you walk the fingers forward. You want to do this about 3 to 5 times. Again, really opening up the rotator cuff of your shoulder girdle. We're going to take one more stretch here. Again, focusing on opening our shoulders. And these are two joints that we spend a lot of time misaligning. They're internally rotated forward, we're leaning forward, and we're often engaged in activities either on the computer or on our phone or tablets, driving a car, eating, carrying a baby. Everything is forward, leaning and facing. So we want to make sure that we give ourselves, our bodies, a chance to really open up. And the wall is a really great tool to do that. So for this one, you're going to take your right arm, slide it across your body, take your left arm, cross it underneath. And then you're just going to press the arms into the wall and slowly extend the legs out so that you're creating resistance and weight. If the head rests comfortably here, you're just going to take a moment, connect with your breath, and allow your own body weight and gravity to open up your shoulders. Breathing here into the back, opening up the shoulder blades, really utilizing the breath and the time to relieve your joints of any tension or stress. And then slowly walk your feet back towards the wall, release your arms, and take it to the other side. So right would go under, left would go above. Walk your feet out gently. And again, appreciate the diversity of your body. You may find that for one side you're at a much stronger or acute angle, and that might not be the case for the other side. It's also really important for you to utilize your breath.
Get up, get down, everybody move your body. Let me see you shake that body. Come on and work that body. Drop it like a taco. Get up, get down, everybody move your body. Let me see you. Get up, get down, everybody move your body. Let me see you shake.
If you look at statements that are made every day by leaders of the government, they simply cannot be reconciled one with the other. Powerful personalities in the Sri Lanka Freedom Party are saying there is no mandate for a completely new constitution, nor do we need one. All that is required is to address certain burning issues, specific matters, which can be adequately catered for by means of a 20th Amendment. These ministers have gone on to identify the particular problems which in their opinion require an urgent solution, not by means of a fully fledged constitution, but by introducing in Parliament amendments directed towards particular reforms. The principal area which according to them is in urgent need of reform are elections. The modalities, the system that we are going to use, first past the post or proportional representation or a hybrid system incorporating elements derived from both systems. That can of course be done by the 20th Amendment. Indeed, during the 100-day period when I was also a member of Parliament, I distinctly remember when there was great reluctance on the part of some members of Parliament to support the 19th Amendment. We were told in no uncertain terms, have no inhibitions in your mind, support the 19th Amendment. Very shortly, within a few weeks, we will present to you the 20th Amendment on electoral reform. It was subject to that understanding that members of Parliament, many of them whom I know very well, agreed to support the 19th Amendment at all. So this body of opinion holds, let's address in earnest issues connected with electoral reform, the executive presidency, and some aspects of devolution. But that does not necessarily mean that we need to reject in toto the existing constitution and replace it with an entirely new constitution. That appears to be the thinking among the majority of the members of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party that are an integral part of the government. The United National Party appears to have a completely different view. They are for a totally new constitution. They are for the holding of a referendum. The leader of the House, the Honourable Lakshman Kiriyella, unequivocally declared, with the support of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, we will hold and win a referendum. Barely 48 hours later, the Honourable John Senaviratna contradicted this and said the Sri Lanka Freedom Party does not support the holding of a referendum and must not be relied upon for any kind of support for the holding of a referendum. So you can readily see that this amounts to a mass of confusion. What is being proposed?
The whole national question took a violent turn only with the enactment of the first Republican Constitution. The federal party to which I belong, in 1970 election manifesto specifically called on the Tamil people not to vote for any candidate who called for a separation of the country, who called for a separate state. There were some candidates in 70. But by 72, when the first Republican Constitution was enacted through the process of a Constituent Assembly in which basic resolutions were passed with a majority vote, 86 to 14, 83 to 14, 86 to 16. That was the way it was done. Majoritarian display of majoritarianism.
In the north, if you take the northern province for instance, Mr. Vigneshwaran and his team will compose from the majority community of that region. Now there is no proposal within this federal structure to say that the federal unit, there won't be majority governance. So what is this argument about majority being ruled? So if the majority is somebody close to you, that's all right. But if the majority are the Sinhalese, then it's bad. Now, if we are thinking of reconciliation, that a majority community, whoever that may be, is opposed to unreasonably dominating a minority community, and we need to put certain safeguards, that's a different question. Whether it is under a unitary system or whether it is under a federal system, having safeguards to safeguard the minorities is not something that anybody would oppose. There must be a mechanism in which the minority rights are protected. But is federalism the solution to it? In a unitary state, if the majority community of the country is ruling the minority, is it a solution to say that in a regional unit we would reverse the roles? And the minority of the country will rule the majority of the country in a region. So this talk of the attacking the Sinhalese majority being dominating the minority is not quite correct, and that is exactly what the people who are demanding federalism want. And that is not reconciliation.
On the other side of this break, Japan's interest in the Bay of Bengal. Well, that's all the news we got for you tonight. Join us next Friday at 9:30 p.m. on TV1 for another edition of Best First Review 360, the pulse of Sri Lankan business. Good night. Have yourself a wonderful weekend.